I phoned the lassie up who the ball hit and gave her 2 hospitality tickets for Partick Thistle, so that was an even bigger shame for her. Got to watch Thistle. No, but she was absolutely brilliant with me, and their family was fine. But I couldn't have been any more sorry, and I was still like, I've never had a chance to actually say sorry fully. It was always through papers and that. And if anybody listens to this, I'm deeply sorry. Like, it was a total mistake. And
That Mental Health Chat, a podcast brought to you by the mental health charity Back Onside, in partnership with G4 Claims.
Hi and welcome to another episode of That Mental Health Chat, podcast brought to you by Back Onside. On this episode, I'm delighted to welcome along professional footballer Gary Fraser. Gary's had a cracking playing career with starting at Hamilton, Gary, and then on to Bolton, Partick Thistle, and
fourth for Cowden Beef and now Peterhead.
Brilliant. How's things just now?
Aye, good.
Right.
Well, I heard today I'm getting my operation the 16th of December.
Brilliant.
So it was a long wait, obviously, through COVID and things like that. So now I finally get a date. I can finally work on it.
Brilliant. Does that set your mind at rest a wee bit, just the fact that you've got a date to kind of look forward to?
Aye, definitely. It would have been a lot sooner. It would have been the 12th of August, but because I caught COVID, I had to wait 90 days.
Right.
So that's my 90 days up now, and everything's busy now with, obviously, the situation last year with COVID and things like that. So now I've got a date, and it's the 16th of December, so it'll be a good Christmas for me.
Aye, good. Aye. Not be dancing on the Christmas table this year.
No, maybe still. I need the other need done after that. No, but I'm just glad it'll be done. So hopefully back for January, end of January, February, because I don't think it'll be a big operation. So that'll be great to get back. Good stuff.
So, it'd be interesting for us just to kind of go through a wee bit of your playing career. Is that all right?
Aye, no bother. Aye,
go for it.
There's not much to talk about right now. Well, as a wee boy, I started off at Aberdeen when I was 8 years old, and that was brilliant. That's the only schoolboy right enough. And I went to Rangers for 7-8 years, then Celtic for a year, and then my professional career started at Hamilton when I was 16. I signed a full-time contract, and I think I was there for about 5 years, and it was brilliant. It was really enjoyable going through to training every day in the train, and I think you're a big football player and all that. It was £75 a week. It was it was dynamite. You know, it was brilliant. And now with the boys in that training every day, and it was good. And then I started to do well in that, and I went into the chartered chairman of the first team when I was about 17, and I made my debut at 17 with Hamilton against Livingston. It was quite a strange game. We actually went down to 9 men, and I had to play right back, and I'd never played there in my life. So I was playing right back, and I was nervous as it is, and we were all over the place, and we actually drew one each, so I got £150 bonus at the end of the month for us. So it worked out well, but it was a bit of a mad debut, so it was a bit mad.
And what about obviously you spent a bit of time there, but then your next kind of move was to Bolton. How did that come about?
Well, that came about, I knew I was flying at the time, I was doing well, and a couple of teams would be looking at me, to be honest with you, and I went down to Bolton for the week. We had a guy called Chris Cummins who was really good to me in football. I went down with him for the week, and it was brilliant, an absolute different world. I think I just turned 18. I was brilliant. I trained with the first team actually. Dougie Freeman was the manager. I trained with the first team, and once I got in about it, I thought, wow, this is amazing, this is where I want to be. So it was time to go back up the road. I spoke to the Bolton manager, and he told me, don't say it, but I'm going to try and sign you. So I thought, wow, I couldn't believe it. I was back up the road signing for Bolton at 18-year-old, and it was just absolutely tremendous. So about 2 weeks later the bid came in, it got accepted. So me and my family, my granddad brought me up, and we went down to Bolton, and it was time I signed, and it was time for them to go back up the road, and I went, wow, I can't crap myself, because the real thing happening, because I'm going to be down here myself with my mum, my granddad, my gran, and it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right. Football wise it was right, and for the future it would have been right, but at that stage it wasn't right for me to stay down there myself. And at that age, I mean, I couldn't even iron my trousers, do you know what I mean? And I was to go and stay myself. But Dougie Freeman, the Bolton manager, he was absolutely brilliant. He offered me to stay in his house and that.
Right.
But the mindset of me to go down there and do well, football wise was right, but off the park definitely wasn't right. And I made the decision when I signed, and I knocked it back, and then I went back to Hamilton for, I think it was about 6 months, and then the end of the season sort of didn't end well, and I was a bit upset about that because Hamilton were good to me as a club.
Yeah.
And a bit upset about that. So after that, in the summer, I didn't have a club. So my agent kind of Bolton still wanted to sign me at this point. So I was in training with Partick Thistle, St Mirren, just a few different clubs in that. And then I was doing in Durham with Partick Thistle. And I got a phone call from my agent and said that Bolton wanted to sign you. And there would be no money involved now, obviously, because I was a free agent.
Yeah.
So I went down and signed for Bolton, with agreeing that I would come back up on loan to Partick Thistle for 6 months. So I had the best of both worlds at that point. I still had 6 months to prepare myself to go down there. But knowing I was back here, but I was a Bolton player, but I was back up here playing in SPL at 19-year-old. So I was living the dream.
Yep.
And then I went back up to Thistle, and once I got really involved with Partick Thistle, the club just got to me. Like, it was brilliant. Like, what a football club. It's actually, I still support them now. I still support Partick Thistle now. What they done for me was tremendous. The way they treated me, the way they looked after me was brilliant. But it was time to go back down to Bolton, and I still knew I wasn't ready. It wasn't right. It was right. I'm a lot of mammy's boy and that. It wasn't right. So I would be doing there eating turkey dinosaurs and pot noodles, you know what I mean? So there was no chance. Just things weren't going to be right. So I said to Gary Freeman again to sit in front of him, and he was absolutely tremendous. I mean, for him to take his time out for an 18-year-old boy with me gone and I'm not gone was good of him. Do you know what I mean? Because these managers can get the picky empty really. And I says to him, look, I can't do this. I honestly can't. And he shook my horn and said, listen, that's your decision. And he wishes me all the best, and I wished him all the best, and they were brilliant. I was just delighted that a club like that wanted me. But I wish it happened a couple of years later, because I would have been older and more mature. But after that, Partick Thistle signed me. I signed there permanently. And the 6 year I spent there, apart from injuries, the 6 year I spent there was probably the best 6 years of my life, because it was brilliant. It was brilliant just playing every week and enjoying it, scoring goals in SPL, and a phone store away from my house. Do you know what I mean? And it was brilliant. And Alan Archibald was the manager, and he was. I couldn't speak any more highly of him, because the problems I must have put him through were mental. The things I would give him, be moaning every day, but it was brilliant when I look back to it. What a football club! What a football club, and what an experience I had there.
So see going back, because obviously I always think, and maybe folk a bit like me won't think about this as much, right? Because a lot of people just see a lot of football players sort of maybe chase the kind of bigger moves or the money and stuff like that. I'm gonna guess at Bolton you're having more money than you would have got at Thistle signing. Do you know what I mean? So for you, especially at a young age, making a big decision like that, because you're saying you were a bit immature, but that shows a lot of maturity, that rather than chasing the money and the big move, you were more interested than being settled, and realising that was something that you maybe have struggled with.
Exactly, because when they put that contract down to me, when I first went down, it wasn't great money, it wasn't life-changing money, but I was more or less told it would have been life-changing money when I went back down. I would have been more or less in a bit involved. But at that point my granda was getting older, and I knew if I went down here, and it did happen, I would have spent the last 2 years or whatever with him. So the best decision was going to Thistle, because my granddad died 2 years later, and I wouldn't have spent that 2 years with him. And that would have meant I would have had worked in Iceland, no there's anything wrong with that, anywhere, a supermarket, but spent my 2 years with him, and that's what I've done, and I will never ever regret the decision of going to Bolton, because Partick Thistle gave me a good life, to be honest with you, as well. After that, and you only need so much money to live and enjoy yourself.
That's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I did go down there and had visits X amount of money, Christ knows where I would be there now. Do you know what I mean? Because me myself and having extra money and this that is not a good idea. I know that now, but when I look back as a young boy, I'm thinking, wow, that's brilliant. But the way my head works, I'm better just being settled. I know what I'm getting. Obviously I can push to get more, but it's never going to be the money I had down there, but it's still a good life here. And that's what I've done, and I spent the last 2 years with my granddad, and I will never regret the decision of not going to Bolton.
And no money can pay for that.
Oh,
do you know
no,
what I mean?
no.
So that, no, listen, I think it's a great way to look at things, because I always think like you live within your means. If you had more money, you would just buy more.
Exactly.
So you live with what you've got. So it's a great
And
attitude.
I'm not exactly a style I've got, so Christ knows.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Obviously,
It's only so much you got to spend, Mark.
Exactly, and the gambling at that point was creeping in, so
Right,
it was quite bad, and I was doing it myself, and having that extra money, a young boy being daft, think you're a big man in casinos and that,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work out like that. Do you know what I mean?
Nah.
So the best decision I made was coming back up the
Coming
road.
up the road.
And don't get me wrong, I probably would have a better life, not a better life, been able to buy more things and buy houses and that, be staying down there, we own that big money, but it means nothing to me now.
For what benefit?
Aye, for what
aye.
benefit, aye.
See when you said Bolton were really good with you and Partick were really good with you, right? In what sense? Because I always think as well, because football and most sports are like kind of for young. I say they are. You're at your prime when you're younger,
Yep.
right? When you're maybe no fully get a lot of life experience.
Yep.
And as you're saying, you were a kind of mammy's boy, lived at home and stuff like that, right? So, what kind of things for the mental side of that did they prepare you for moving down there? Because obviously they're asking you to come down there at 18.
Yep.
You're still just a young guy.
Aye.
I mean, when I was 18, I was really amateur, so I couldn't have probably have done that. So what kind of things did they offer you anything like in terms of trying to support you?
Well, it didn't. I was obviously offered to stay with the manager
Aye.
and that, and I was getting put into digs. I didn't want to do that because I was used to my home comforts, obviously, up
Aye.
here. And me being me, I would rather stay in a hotel at the stadium, because that's when I stayed. I went down and trained.
Yeah.
But obviously, Dougie Freeman, you can't come down and stay in a hotel. That just when he worked. But I think Dougie Freeman understood me. He knew what I was like, and it was. He never ever knew like I needed support or it, and I only knew that a couple of years later. He never knew I needed support or anything, but I'm sure if he knew that then, the club would have fully supported me.
Mm-hmm.
But they fully supported me with everything else, like if I needed anything or looked after. It was just I was too young. I was totally too young. See, to be honest, I didn't even know who I was starting to work myself out at that point,
Yep.
who I was and what I wanted to be. And obviously I wanted to be a football player.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, but at that moment of time, Bolton was maybe a bit big for me at that moment of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I mean, like, all right, football wise, you maybe had the ability to go there, but as you're saying, you maybe as a person, it wasn't quite. You weren't quite ready for that.
No blowing my own smoke, but I had the ability to borrow.
Aye.
I
Yep.
did it down and played there.
Well, they obviously wanted to sign you for a
Aye.
and as you said, for you to kind of knock that back and then they come back in for you again shows that they did. They were really keen on you.
I had the ability to go and do well down there, and I know that. But see, to be a top player, you need to have the two of them. I didn't have the two of them. I
Aye.
only had one of them, and
Yeah.
one of them was the ability. I never had the mental side of being a football player,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably. Now, if I met, I used to Libby, I wish I met her years ago,
Yep.
because maybe not her right now. No, I get it. No,
Cheeky sod.
I wish I met her years ago for the reason is I would maybe have had that side worked on,
Yep.
the mental side, do you know what I mean? And it would have balanced itself out.
Yep.
But back then, I never had that.
Did you watch the phone Bolton and see if he'll take you back? Sure you not.
Listen, if I was playing now, it would never happen now, but I would jump in it now, because I'm
Yeah.
older now, but
Yeah.
it would never happen. I was lucky enough at the time, and really privileged for it to, and delighted for a club like that wanting me, but I just wish I was 21, 22 when it happened.
A wee bit older.
A wee bit older, a wee bit more mature.
There's a lot to be said for that. But like, as I said, like I think you look at young boys that there's probably not a lot, but you look at young boys that maybe have to go down and leave everything here to go and pursue like that career. And I don't doubt for a second every professional football player, every professional sports person wants to play at the highest level they can possibly play at.
Yep.
But it does come at a price. Do you know, you're saying like obviously the things that you would have had to sacrifice in that time that you had with your granddad, that you no money's going to buy that back. So obviously there's a big decision to be made there. But I wonder if there is more can be done about that in the footballing world.
I sort of said to Libby, I only heard her back on side through the fundraising with my operation.
Yep.
And I didn't know, honestly I didn't know about back on side, and Libby wasn't really happy about it. She wasn't, there's no point in lying, she wasn't.
No.
And see now, like, see if back
I wasn't
on...
annoyed with you.
She's always annoyed with me now. See if that was more... I've not got social media or nothing, but see if that was more put across to players, look, back on side, see to go and help people, go and speak to them, they don't need to know it's anonymous, and I would maybe have picked the phone up ages ago.
Yep.
But that fundraising thing was probably the best thing that happened to me, to actually go and say to Libby, because I was struggling obviously with my injury and no playing football. But if that was back then, I think things would be different for me. I think that mentality in me saying I can do that, I can move away, I can go and do it. Whereas with me, I was always, I can't. I was always, my ability was always fine, I always knew I had ability, but it was the other part of being a football player that I couldn't deal with.
The pressure, or just the whole side of...
No, the pressure, just the whole side of...
Life skills.
See, for me, people always... Football players have always got this aura that they're better than people. I'm not saying they all have, but most of them have. And I wasn't like that. I was a normal boy for Denison, and I would never change for anybody, no matter who. If I played for Real Madrid, I would still be the same boy through with my shorts, t-shirt. That's the way I am. And it was just the way football players act sometimes, and they're better than people. And I love football, but I hated the environment.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't like the environment, but I love football. And the environment, like, don't get it wrong, 90% of the boys are brand new in football.
Aye.
But there's that small percent in each dressing room that's think they're better.
A wee bit of arrogance.
I say that's up to them, that's not to do with me, but that's just what I didn't really like about it. But apart from that, I love football. I still love football. I love football to the day I die.
Aye.
But it was just, I think
with you though, you've got confidence in football and your ability to play, but you lack confidence in everyday life and who you are as a person.
Yep.
And you can see that now, because when he's not got football just now, you're having your own battles with just everyday life.
Yep.
So let's talk about that a wee bit then, Gary, because obviously spoke about Partick, you had a couple of injuries there, and you're at Peterhead just now, right?
Yeah.
And obviously what you said there is, back on side through the fundraising. So tell me a wee bit about that, and your kind of connection to back on side and how that came about.
Well, what happened was, obviously with my injury, I went into lockdown and all that happened. So the manager, Jim McInally, he's been brilliant as well. Libby will tell you, he's been really good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's a great guy, honestly, a cracking guy. And he said to say, why don't we do something with Gary then, to raise a bit of money and that, and it's obviously a bit for back on side as well. So I go through in the bus and that, and I didn't know, honestly, who back on side was at all. I'd never heard of them. And it was quite annoying, to be honest with it is, because I wish I heard of them a long time ago, as I
but
say.
But Jim knew about us, which Jim knew us because David Cox, David used to play for Peterhead, so he was very aware of who we were. So,
but unless I
it's not getting put down.
Unless I just didn't concentrate. But
is that a possibility?
Not likely. I was probably looking the window. No,
don't say that.
No, but so that was the first one. And the boys done the whole walk,
which Gary picked me up in the van. That was an experience. I was licking the window through no choice.
Were you driving?
I was driving. I was driving.
Jeez.
We're going to see that to a police officer. I was driving, so I picked Libby up on the way. But before this, Sky Sports News had came, so we done a wee interview with me and Simon Ferry, just to thank everybody for all the donations and stuff, and it's obviously for back on side as well, and obviously for me from operation. So I obviously, me being an idiot, I take my tartan hat off and my shorts, and then I jump right into the hot woman, but the water's about that deep. It's like a wee puddle. So
nearly done his
so, and then I get back. So it was all in good fun. But it was after that Libby met me for a coffee, and I really started to realise what back on side was. And since then it's been, well, I saviour to me, to be honest with you. It's helped me big time, like massively. And I would say to any player, if you're ever struggling with anything, it doesn't need to be like major, but it was just wee things, because I was just struggling everyday life, how to live my life, going from full time to part time and having injuries and trying to keep jobs, and I would say any player, honestly, it's the best thing I've done, and it would help your game. See, speaking to them every week, even when I was, that's what I'm saying, I know I keep getting back to this, but when I was at Fisher, I wish I had them to speak to every week, because things would have been different. No fighting with myself and that on the pitch, it would have been totally different. But I'm lucky I've met them now, because I'm still playing, so just look forward for here.
Exactly.
From here on in. So there's no point in looking back.
You can't look back. There's nothing you can change about that.
Exactly.
So it's only about what you can impact going forward. But see what you're talking about there, the kind of battles you had with yourself. What was that about?
Right. So see, I was on the part and that, and I made a bad pass. I was, see, the forgetting it. My head was, I made myself, I'm dead hopeless. But that's the thing about Alan Archibald. He knew me inside out. So he knew when I was feeling like that and feeling down, and that's how I always say he was brilliant with me. But I would always I was really hard on myself, and I think I had, see, football wise, I had quite high standards. In fact, I had really high standards, and I knew when I let them slip, that affected me big time. And it was just trying to keep my standards high, because I knew when I was under my standards, and it would affect me right away if I wasn't on it. It would affect me, especially playing in the Premier League at that age, at a young age. I put a lot on my shoulders, because I knew I was good enough to go and do that. And at that point in the team, it was boy me and Stuart Bannigan in the middle, and we were flying at the time too. We were brilliant together. And if I let anything slip, that would affect me for days. But it wouldn't just be after the game. I'd go home and say, I had a shock of the day, and I would lock my door and I wouldn't come out, and I would just be angry on the Monday morning at training, because I knew I'd let the manager and the team and that down. And really, when I look back, I shouldn't have, but it was like, it's a game of football. Just trying to do my best, and that's it. But I carried it away for the park and beat myself up big time. Like, I've had a bad game, but see, if I had a good game, I wouldn't give myself much praise either. Do you know what I mean? So I never really gave myself credit. I was always kind of looking for things what I could do better, which isn't a bad thing.
No, you're always wanting to improve, but as you say, if you take that to an extreme, then it can affect you off the park as well. And then if you're not giving yourself the credit for when you're doing well, then how does that leave you feeling? Exactly,
that's what I'm saying. It's trying to get that balance. Whereas, not so much a balance, it's hard to see what you said, to use that word extreme. That's a big part of my problem, so I take everything to extreme. Like, everything's extremes. Like, it's not just a wee thing, no, it's alright. No, I'll need to go right into it and say, like, a wee problem turns into a big problem with me. Like, I get all upset about things and stuff like that. Whereas that shouldn't happen, do you know what I mean? And I should just maybe calm, just say it's happened and that's it. And on the football part, I was really bad for it.
See, how does that play out for you then? So if you're taking some to extremes, or if you're being hard on yourself or critical of yourself for how you've performed, right? How does that then show for you? How do you deal with that, or how does that kind of come out in you?
No, back then I would deal with just continuing getting into training and that, and I would still be kind of hard on myself, and it would get to a Saturday and things would be alright again. But now, back then I was dealing with it. I wasn't dealing with it. I mean, that's probably my answer. I actually wasn't dealing with it. I was just doing things out of the ordinary. I was moaning at everybody, my mum, everybody. I was just going home and moaning because I had a bad game, and things just weren't good enough. But now, when I play, even the last couple of years I've got older, I think, why? You know what I mean? Like, why? Because why let everything affect my full week for a game of football? Because really that's what it is. Do you know what I mean? It is only a game of football, and there's no need to put myself down so much. Maybe I should start giving myself a bit of praise rather than always put myself down, because I've always been negative. Just start being a bit more positive towards things in life every day, instead of, no, that's rubbish, that's hopeless. No, at least try and help myself and say, no, that's good. Do you know what I mean? Rather than always going for the easy option and being negative.
I think the one thing that somebody's told me that has always stuck with me is control the controllables. So, like, see if it's something you like that's happened, I can't change that. No. All I can deal with is how I move forward with it, or how I let it affect me, my reaction to it. So you can't control it. If you've had a bad game, it's got you can't change that. But you can control how you react to that, and obviously that's one of the things that I think is important, that you always your reaction's up to you. So like as you're saying, like if you're letting something eat away and get you, that's something that you can control. You do let that affect you. And as you said, if you're quite extreme or really been negative all the time, then it's going to have that negative impact on you, innit?
It had a big negative impact on me. But even my mum used to say to me, when I come home on a Saturday night, say we get beat or something, if I saw and had a bad game, and even a Saturday night, Mum, I'm staying away from him. Because she knows everything was just going to be shut or a moan or something. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when I look back at it, I thought, see if I went in and just forgot about it, maybe, and just think, I actually did do alright though. And just thought about it rather than, no, I was hopeless, that's it. I was hopeless, my decision's made. And go in and kick my wardrobes and...
No wonder you always get injured.
No, no, a pair of toe caps somewhere. I kick my wardrobes and
See when you say though that the manager knew what you were like and knew how you would react, did he ever then, or any manager, pull you aside after a game knowing that that's how you were going to respond and have a chat with you?
Alan Archibald just always, even on a Monday morning or that, he used to always say, how are you and stuff, and he knew what I was like. I was, still, don't get me wrong, I must have been hard to manage. There's no point in kidding on, I must have been terrible to manage, but I was always pleasant in that enough. It was on the training park and on the park, I had that hunger. It's just a bad thing, but maybe I had that hunger was the wrong way from, I don't know how to explain this, that hunger was like, I used it in the wrong way maybe.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Do you get what I mean?
Aye, I do. So like, alright, you were hungry and you wanted to improve, but if you were letting it get to you, it meant that you would take out in a frustrated way.
I would start arguing with our players.
Aye. So it ended up a frustration
so it ended
rather
up
than
an argument and a fight with other players. And that's what I'm saying, I felt sorry for Archie and that, because they done brilliant for me, and it must have been terrible to manage sometimes. Do you know what I mean? It must be like, that's this boy ever going to come down. Do you know what I mean? But I was always, see, after that, I was always full of fun, full of jokes, full of carry on, always smiling. But as soon as I seemed to step over the line, I just went like that, bang. Do you know what I mean? It was weird. It was weird, and it seemed to be an anger which shouldn't have been there, to be honest with you. And it seemed to have only been on the football park, it didn't seem to be anywhere else. And that was,
and it was just, it might just have been that though, the frustration of like, you knew you wanted to play at your best, and if you weren't doing that, as you're saying, you were so hard on yourself. So see, thinking about that then, see for me, how I've not played professional sports, but I've been injured and struggled when I can't go out a run or get to the gym or stuff like that. So how does that impact on you then when you're struggling with injury and you can't get playing?
Well, the first time it happened, it was against Dundee United at Firhill. My granddad died a week before.
Oh, right.
So things were all over the place anyway. So my granddad died a week before, and he'd have wanted me to go back and play. So I went back and played as soon as I could. By the way, this is what I need to mention. Partick Thistle were playing Motherwell on a Saturday, and Alan Archibald and the doctor at the club came to my granddad's funeral on a Saturday morning.
Really?
So that was that just shows you how much
the gesture they showed to make it along.
To make it along, Partick Thistle did a game that day. So that's why I've got so much respect for them as well. Yeah. To do that was tremendous. But when I go into the Dundee United game, my granddad just died, and it was like 9 minutes into the game, and the boys, it was when my foot got stuck in the ground and the boy hit my other leg and I sort of spinned, and I felt my knee hit away, and I was like, and I don't usually do that, I'm not usually down for long, and I was, and I thought, well, this is bad, and then I went off and I was in the wee physio room and that, and I knew it wasn't right, it was the sorest thing ever. And then the next day we got the scans and that, and then I think about 2-3 weeks later I had the operation, and I was coming back and that, and it still wasn't right. So I was training for about 6-7 weeks, then I got another scan, and I had to get another operation because the first one never worked or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it was all like how it worked out in the times and that. But every time I come back, it seemed to bother me, like my knee seemed to bother me. And when I come back and trained, I wasn't the player I was. Like, a wee things I used to just do off the cuff, like pass the ball first time. I was struggling to do things like that. And even just to bring my game back to normal, when I came back, I wasn't the same player, and I'm still not the same player. But So it was twice I'd done that, and then after that, Partick Thistle got relegated, and I knew my time was up. I mean, they gave me a decent contract when I was injured, and they didn't need to do that, and they looked after me. It was brilliant. It was brilliant to do that. And then sadly we get relegated, and and I knew my time was up. 6 or 7 it was time to go. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So after that, my head was totally all over the place, and I was in Magaluf, and I ended up agreeing to go into Forfar.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest with you, I should have stayed full time, because I could have went into clubs and trained, and I'd have got a deal, I would have. But my head was all over the place at that point. I wanted to go part time and take a step back for it. So I went there, and I just couldn't adjust to part time football. Just couldn't be used to full time all my life. I just couldn't adjust to being part time. I think I was there for about 2 months, and I ended up saying to them, they were good with me as well. I ended up saying, I can't do this. So I ended up my contract get ripped up, and I took about 3 weeks out, and then a mate of mine phoned me to go and play with a club for a year, and I played there without getting injured. One of the best things I'd done. Went back and played, and then from there I went to Peterhead. Played about a year and a half there without any troubles. I still wasn't back to my best right enough. Any troubles, and then last Christmas I jumped up and done my knee again, and I've been sort of in limbo since then. And that's obviously when Libby and that stepped in, and it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I couldn't thank back Onside enough, to be honest with you, what we've done. To be honest with you, I should be doing a bit more to try and raise money, but wait till I'm back fit, and then obviously we'll take
get
it
these speedos, look back into a sponsor from a Loch Lomond.
Definitely.
Man Keeney going on.
No, listen.
Small one guy, well.
the going back to the sort of injury stuff, right? Do you think that you're saying you kind of struggled maybe getting back again, you never really found your form? Do you think that was a mental thing about worrying about your injury, or a bit of you weren't sure if you were going to get back to form? Do you think it was more a mental side than your actual ability, your physical?
I would say people say about injuries now, people do it's on your head. See, that's a load of rubbish, because you can't ignore pain in your knee and stuff like that, right? You can't ignore that. But see, the mental side of the game, I would say it probably is in your head a wee bit. I think because you've done your knee, and you think, if I go back here and this happens again, and you're on edge when you're playing a wee bit. And it affected me a lot, the mental side of it, thinking I'm never going to get back to where I was. Well, really, I should have just no bothered and just. I know it's easy saying that.
That's what I was going to say.
It's easy sitting here saying that now.
Thing though, isn't it?
It's easy sitting saying that here now. But it was hard at the time. But I look back in my career, I'm actually quite proud, because I scored a cracking goals, and don't get me wrong, I've not the career a lot of people have had. But I lived the dream. I played in the SPL.
Yeah.
And I managed to get paid. I've been a football player, so I'm a lot luckier than a lot of boys.
Exactly.
And that's why I look at it now. I was happy at the time, and at the time it was brilliant. And I just couldn't thank the people which helped me enough.
See, right, so one of the things I wanted to talk about was a kind of flashpoint, right? And the reason that I'll talk a bit more about this, but I was thinking, like, obviously there was an incident when you played against Celtic with Thistle, and the ball got kicked into, or you kicked the ball into the crowd, right? And it obviously hit somebody in the crowd. So tell me a wee bit about that.
So I was just back from injury at Celtic Park. We were playing Celtic, obviously, at Parkhead. And I've come on, and I've took a bad touch right away, and I've went and honestly, it looks terrible when you watch it back. I've absolutely smashed a shot, and it's into the fans. But see, at that point, I've like, oh no, what have I done here?
Aye.
Because see, that was at Fernhull or Ross County or anywhere. Obviously, I said Ibrox at Parkhead. Like, you know, you can't do it. You can't do it anywhere, to be honest with you, but it wouldn't have been much said of it, because there's not a lot of fans in that at these stadiums, and maybe it would have hit the wall or something. I generally end for the wee wall, and the pitch is kind of above it.
Yep.
And I've absolutely smashed it. and it's went into the crowd. I don't know if it hurt him. That force, if that hurt somebody, then Christ knows what would have happened. But I think it maybe hurt somebody. But that was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare, because as a boy with Rangers and Celtic, I'm not bothered. I don't really bother with the two clubs. I was a Rangers fan growing up, but I played with Celtic and I loved it when I was there as a boy. I absolutely loved it, and I don't have a problem with Celtic at all. And after the game, Brendan Rodgers actually said, "No, it's fine. These things happen." It was brilliant of him to do that. But that was one of the worst points in my career doing that. The biggest regret ever was doing that, and it was not even a regret because I didn't mean to do it.
No.
And see the people that know me that are Celtic fans, they were like, "That boy's not like that. He wouldn't do that." And see if that was at Ibrox, I'd have done it. It didn't matter where it was. Do you know what I mean?
You just you're kicking the ball just out of frustration.
I kicked the ball out of total frustration, and it ended up an absolute nightmare for
Did you get charged for anything?
A couple of weeks.
Did you get
No, but
suspended?
Celtic got a penalty for it. No, I never get charged for anything. I phoned the lassie up who the ball hurt and gave her 2 hospitality tickets for Partick Thistle, so that was an even bigger shame for her. You know what I mean? Got to watch Thistle. No, but she was absolutely brilliant with me,
Right.
and their family was fine. But I couldn't have been any more sorry, and I was still like, I've never had a chance to actually say sorry fully. It was always through papers and that. And if anybody listens to this, I'm deeply sorry. Like, it was a total mistake. And last week I was at Ibrox watching the Rangers and Hearts game, no, Rangers and Hibs, and Conor Golson done the exact same thing. I don't think anybody noticed it, but it was into the Rangers fans.
Yeah.
So it was into his own fans. But right away, the difference was he says sorry. I just turned and thought nothing of it. So I thought, Christ, that's the sort of same situation.
Because the reaction of you, people have maybe thought he's raced that into the crowd on purpose, sort of thing. So see, when you said it was a nightmare for a couple of weeks, was there a backlash for like the media or for people towards you?
Just people on Facebook and saying things and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, the Rangers fans obviously liked it, and Thistle fans liked it, and I hated it.
Yeah,
I hated every minute of it.
Yeah,
I hated it. It was the worst time in my career, and I'm embarrassed about it, and I'm sorry, but it was nothing against Celtic as a football club, because Celtic are a great football club.
Yeah,
because it would be a pleasure to play at Parkhead, and it was an absolute pleasure. And for that to happen was just a joke, an absolute joke, and it was all through me again. That anger building
just
up,
your frustration.
So it still bothers you, like you know,
it does bother me
because you talk about it a lot to me and stuff, and you can see it bothers you. And maybe it's because you've not actually, because Gary's not on any social media or anything, so you've probably not had your time to say how you actually feel about it, and the papers write what they want to write, kind of thing. So.
Even just if anybody listens to this, I would just like to say that was the biggest mistake in my life, and I'm deeply sorry. But with Celtic as a football club, we're absolutely different class. They showed their class again after it and said, "Don't listen, don't worry about it." And that's how teams like Rangers and Celtic was at the top, because the way they dealt with it was just a class act.
But I bet you nobody really knows either that you contacted the girl and all that kind of stuff. So I bet that side doesn't come out.
I wonder, just because, and the reason, and again, I did want to ask you about it, but I was thinking about what's been massive in the media this week in relation to sport and Scottish football has been Ryan Porteous and the backlash he's got on social media off the tackle and Aribo. So like there has been a lot of people coming out talking about, Jack Ross in particular, about the vile and horrible messages he's been getting on social media. You're not on social media, which was something I was going to ask you about, so that answers that question. But I just think, like, people forget that he's a human being. And you were what age were you when that happened?
22, maybe.
Do you know what I mean? You're still a really young guy. I think people forget about that, and I think it's something that's maybe overlooked a lot in football in particular, because like football fans are the worst when it comes to giving people abuse. They're the worst. There's no doubt about it. I mean, football fans can be great, 100%, when they're behind their team and they're cheering everybody on. But see, when it comes to abuse towards either the rival team or
even fans towards their own fans. I was at a game the other day, and there's a player, and it was their own fans that were giving him some serious abuse about his weight, basically,
Right.
and it was horrible.
And
And
that's
that was
his own
that was his
fans.
own fans.
I think that there's definitely see if like, what's happened with Ryan Porteous. See if somebody says something like that to him out in the street, or
He'd be charged.
do you know what I mean? I think there seems to be a kind of line sometimes that gets crossed in football, and it's I'm not saying it's acceptable, it's definitely not, but it's almost accepted that you're a football player, you take up, well, it's not right.
See the difference with Ryan Porteous? His was genuinely a tackle. People had a right to do that to me.
Yeah, I don't
Do you know what
No,
I mean?
I
They
don't.
didn't have a right, but they had Maria.
They
What I had done looked bad. Right?
Yeah.
I'll admit that, it looked bad. And people had a right to have a go at me. But that boy Ryan Porteous was just a tackle. Do you know what I mean? And that's what happens in football. He was on the pitch and he tackled somebody. I done something out of the ordinary, which should never have happened. So I think it's absolutely out of order what's happened to him, and people slagging him and saying what they're saying on social media. I don't know nothing about social media because I've not got it.
Yep.
But the boy was, it happened during the game and it was a tackle. That's what happens in football. Football players tackle each other. But in my situation, you don't put ball into fans.
But,
do you know what I mean?
But you get frustrated and you kick the ball away, and that happens. And I don't think people have. See,
It's a bit
I know
like
what
you're
you mean.
saying that you shouldn't have done that and all the rest of it, and it's frustration. Flip that on the other side. The fans shouldn't react, and I'm glad you didn't have social media, because I'm sure some of the stuff that's probably getting said about you at the time would be horrific. It'd be a bit like the Ryan situation just now. So do they have the right to retaliate in that way with death threats and all the rest of it, or is that are they allowed to say, well, I was frustrated? So they can't have it both ways. Like, they can't. A player's not should be allowed to have a bit of frustration if fans are going to react
yeah,
that way. Does that make sense?
it does. I just think, fans are allowed an opinion, 100%. But abuse is still abuse, regardless. And it's not right. No. So regardless of whether you've done something wrong or done something that can be perceived to be wrong, because as you said, Gary, you've no went out and picked up the ball and laced it off a woman's face. You've kicked the ball away.
I'm going to get the ball and hit the ball into the fans.
Exactly. You've not done that.
I've not done that, but I was lucky because that could have caused damage.
But it didn't.
But again, right, say it did, and you take your punishment for that, and people are like, you should never have done that. Fair enough, right? But what I think is there's still a line, and like the abuse that people get over anything is it's no merited. It should still be a line that's not allowed to be crossed. And I always think, what part of being a professional sports person do you get told, by the way, or you need to accept the amount of abuse you're going to get online? In fact, if you go on social media, you deserve to get abuse. That's not right. You shouldn't be getting it.
No.
I just think it goes way beyond what people should be accepting of.
It does.
I know, like I think it, and that's how I was wondering, because I was going to ask you if you ever received a kind of backlash on social media, but if you're not on it, I'm guessing the answer's
Obviously I get pictures sent through to me of people saying things and that, but
is that right?
but I could totally understand at the time, because I've still not had the chance to really say I'm fully sorry, and I'm not, and every time I speak to Celtic fans and they know about it, they know that's not me because they know me, but I always say that was the biggest mistake. That was a horrible night for me.
Yeah.
Because I would normally walk home after Park, because I just stay up for Duke Street. I just stay in Alexandra Parade. I would normally walk home, and that night I couldn't. I had to get the bus back to Fir Hall and then go back to mine for there. And what a night! My best mate, wee Joe, was at the game with my mum, and he said, "Oh, what have you done? What have you done?" And it was. I was asking myself, what have I done? Because it was at the time I was like, what have I done? And I realised I'm at Celtic Park and I've just hit the ball into the crowd. Like, God's sake, man! Like, this could be horrific. And Alan Archibald still backed me up.
But that's a sign of not only a good manager, but a kind of leader, somebody that's a good person that knows.
And it's probably he's probably been there in that situation as well, like frustration, and knows that was out of character for Gary, and it wasn't a vicious, like malicious thing that he was doing. It was more frustration at himself
and a mistake.
Yeah, it was. I took a bad touch and I've just went bang, and it's thinking back to that night and now, still still kind of...
Is that right?
You can see it's getting to
Aye,
you.
It annoys me.
Aye.
It does annoy me because I just wish it never happened, because I would do it in the world to help anybody.
Yep.
And that was just...
I'm glad I've not got that, because every touch I take's a bad one, Gary.
No.
I've got less than I've got other shop.
No, that was just an absolute disgrace, to be honest with you. That's what that was, a disgrace.
But I think, again, like what you're giving me an example of what you said earlier on. You're really hard on yourself, because it
You're
was a
5 years
mistake.
down the line and you've...
It was a mistake, and it was not something that there was no intent. You never intentionally meant to hurt anybody. It's just, and as you said, like what you described, Ryan Porteous' tackles, it's part of the game. Getting frustrated and kicking the ball was part of the game, just the same. It was just unfortunate how that turned out.
No, I know.
But
I know. Mine's...
as we said earlier as well, you can't change what's happened. It's happened, and it's how you deal with it and move on.
Definitely.
And you've been, like, as you're saying right now, you're still apologising, you still feel bad about it. So I think, all credit to you. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's happened now, and one more time I'd like to say sorry to obviously everybody involved that night. It was, I felt it first one on us, but it didn't embarrass them.
Well, see, I think anybody would accept your apology. And hearing you telling that story, there's absolutely clear that it was something that's affected you. It's caused you to upset. And like, I'm glad that you can speak about it, and you're happy. Not happy enough, but you're all right with being able to say that you apologise for everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Actually, I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something else to you, and it's just went out of my head. But
It's an age thing.
Libby.
You must forget it.
I'm not.
I could do some out of frustration right?
So see, getting back on side, right? You were saying earlier on about how much you wish you had spoken to or known about back on side early, and you could, so maybe things like that, but you could have got a bit of support and help with it, right? How big a help do you think it would be, especially maybe for young players? Because we've spoke about this before, about young players that are maybe getting released, players that are injured, that it affects them, or they maybe don't get a contract because they've been injured. How big
Not
a help?
even young players.
Well, any players.
Yeah, any players that are going
through a tough time.
You get the young players, and then you get the players coming to the end.
Yeah.
But obviously you've got people in there with problems as well, right? There are still obviously injuries in football players, but you've got the young boys who are breaking through it and getting released. Then you've got the older players who have been a football player all their life, and then bang,
Comes
they're
to
retired.
an
It's away now. And that's why I was. So I got to about there, the middle bit, and I was like, I felt bang, because I went away for full-time football, and see, try to get my life to knowing that I need a base now, but it's no football, like something else where I'm going to bring consistent money in, because part-time football doesn't bring you a good wage in. There's no point in lying about it, doesn't it? It's brilliant, don't get it right, it's brilliant, you're still playing in the leagues, but you're not going to be able to go on your holidays and not be part-time wages. So you need to, that's what I've been doing, trying to do different things like taxis and just all that sort of different things. And my uncle's actually helped me out with a cleaning job. They've got a cleaning business and they helped me out massively. They gave me work and that, and get me used to sort of working, and I did enjoy it, but now it was the time to maybe step my own 2 feet and move on, because I'm getting older. And
all of 27.
I know.
Well,
And he's got his pensions in.
but it's time to...
In a football career,
it's time to think.
I get what you're saying.
It's time to think now about what I need to do, because I need a future. And that's what Jane and Libby have been brilliant with trying to get. This is only 8 weeks, by the way, or 9 weeks. We've formed a great relationship. Maybe she might not say that. But we've formed
Having known Libby, I'm finding this hard to believe.
and we've formed a great relationship.
This is abuse, you know.
And they've helped me, and I'll get to that stage. It might take a year down the line, but I'll get to that stage where I'm settled and I'm no in limbo. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I don't know where I'm coming and going. Because if I keep doing what I'm doing every week and doing what they're telling me to do, I know there's only one outcome, it's going to be good. But if I go the other way, there's only one outcome, it's going to be bad. So I just need to keep doing what I'm doing. I've still had wee blipses in that, where I'm not feeling great and doing things I shouldn't be doing. I talk about maybe drinking and gambling. that's still happening every so often, because I went down to a bad spell of drinking when I was injured the second time there, and I didn't know. I thought, for Christ's sake, this is all coming away from me fast, and
That's before you spoke to us also.
that's before I spoke to Libby and that, and now things are just so much better now. And if I keep trying to do what I'm doing now, by getting back into the gym and getting that healthy lifestyle back, and speaking to Libby and Jane every so often, there's only one way it's going to go for me, and it's going to be good. So it's only me that can mess it up.
Yep.
But you can't be hard on yourself either, because
No.
it's not going to, things aren't going to happen overnight. It's a bit of a process, and you know that yourself.
No.
Because you want things to be all right now,
Yep.
but you have to work on yourself and give it time.
That's what I say. It could be a year. But if I keep doing it, if I take this day by day, and know if I'm better every day, and I wake up that day and I don't do things I'm not meant to be doing, that's a good day.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's about taking the positives, do you know what I mean? Gain yourself praise for when things are going well, instead of the all negative all the time. And when it's going good, then fair enough, but I can improve. It's about having the days, because like everybody has blips, everybody has days or times when they take out. You can't have it. You can't be brilliant all the time. You've got to have times when, but it's just about knowing, right, I'm not there forever. Things will keep improving.
Yep.
So see that in terms of like the kind of drinking and the gambling, is that something that you've struggled with recently, or more, or has it always been a kind of issue?
I never drank in my life.
Oh, really?
No, I was about 22. I started having a few beers and that, but it was nothing major. I was always here for 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. I was never. But and then when I got my injuries and that, it was more the last one. I was going to the pub myself and having beers and that, just something I wouldn't do. Do you know what I mean? Just something I wouldn't do. And it was happening more often than usual, and I thought this needs to stop, because it's getting out of hand, and I didn't like it. That's not my life. My life's a good life, a happy life, and I ain't like to drink alcohol and do what I don't. I can have a few beers like everybody else, but this was getting out of normal. It was happening more than it should have. So obviously I got to control of that, and that's absolutely fine now. That's the hassle, but I still get the wee odd gambling things. Obviously every young boy maybe goes in and has a bet in that, but as I say, when I do things, I go to extremes. I go in and that's me. I'm there. I've lost what I've got on me. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I need to stop. I can't gamble, because it was a way of beating myself up. I was going in.
So it's self-harm. That's what I said to him. It's like he's punishing himself for no reason. For things like he's just talked about, how this kicking the ball into the stands and stuff, that's still been bothering him. And so his way of dealing with things like that is by harming himself in a gambling way.
So that's what I was saying to players. There's all different ways. It can be wee things what you're doing to annoy yourself, and that's a way of self-harming yourself. You know what I mean? It could be. It doesn't need to be like what you see every day and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be like the
actually physically hurting yourself. You're mentally hurting yourself.
It doesn't need to be the physically doing it. You could be mentally doing it as well, and that's what I was doing with gambling. I was really, really mentally like shattering myself.
Could you recognise that, or did it take for somebody to say to you?
I knew I was doing it. That's the thing. I knew I was wrong, and I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing. But that's still been happening every so often. There's no point in lying. Like, that has been happening, but it's been getting control, and that'll be a way. I don't gamble every day. As far as the gambling doesn't interest me unless I'm in a mood. See if I make it in a mood, I'm going to the bookies and messing about in there all day, or something like that. That's when I'll gamble, and
like an escape to get away from it, and you just get there, and then like you just say once you get there, it's like, I'll keep going until I've got nothing.
Just keep going. No till I've got nothing, but just till I've done myself damage where I'm safe.
And you know it's going to have an effect on you, can I?
Just because it's.
And then he phones me straight after it once he's done it and beats himself up. I'm like, why didn't you phone me before you'd done it?
Aye.
I know.
But that's something that you'll work on.
Yeah.
But I'm coming out here, and I hope boys do listen to it, because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect in this world. I don't care if you're a whatever you're, nobody's perfect. And it'd be good to boys to talk more if they have got problems, because it can be solved. Every problem can be solved. You know what I mean? So it would be good if. I would like back on side to get. I know they're trying, but managers to even mention about it. Do you know what I mean? In football clubs, and just say, and even like leaflets or anything in the stadium so they can pick it up and read about it. Do you know what I mean? And Libby's probably done that, but it's about the club. I think the clubs need to help her out now. Know what I mean? Help her. Like, she can't go in every club and just leave Higmies. The secretaries and that the clubs need to put it forward to the players now as well, and say, look boys, this is what this is, and explain to them, because clubs aren't going to let people. You know what clubs are like sometimes? They're a bit awkward.
I think, and again, just sort of my opinion on it sometimes is that there's probably not enough done around supporting the kind of mental side in football, right?
There's definitely not.
But I don't think, I'm trying to think how to word this, I don't think the onus can be totally on the club. It should be, right? Because they are employing guys to play football and women in the Women's Football League. So they're employing these players, right? So they've got to support them in every aspect, not just as a player, but also as a person. But they're maybe not all equipped to do it, and that's where Back Onside can come in, can offer support and can partner up and be a kind of a support network that's there for players. And I think that's the issue. It's like the onus is on the clubs, but not to do it themselves to get backing and support.
I think the problem, though, a lot of the problem is clubs do have something in place that they think is enough for mental health. They'll have like psychiatrists, and some of the bigger clubs will have mental health nurses, or I don't know what they're called. But what they're not listening to is that not all the players are going to go to them, because it comes down to the stigma and panic of a manager finding out and them getting taken off the team or put on the bench. Whereas with us, the amount of players that we've had from every club, like there's not one of the 42 clubs that we've not had a player from or a staff member, that they need to have more than what they've got in house. And that goes with companies as well. Like we work with companies that the people won't go in house. So rather than just be some of the attitudes with some of the clubs is, no, we're fine, we've got this covered and there's enough help in there. Well, there's not. Yes, there is, but there's not everybody's going to it.
There needs to be more.
There needs to be a third party coming in. And Ross Wilson spoke about that quite a lot when he was down at Southampton. Before he moved up to Rangers, we were down and we did an interview with him, and he spoke really highly of us, saying that that's exactly what like clubs need is Back Onside, because he knows that not all the players are going to go in house.
Don't feel comfortable. But we spoke about this, Libby, and we were saying, like, how many players turn up to see the physio? Oh, I've got this or I've got that, and they all want to see the physio, right? But see if it's something that's wrong you've got something wrong mentally, people don't want to do it because they don't want to be seen as what's wrong with them. But what's the difference? Like, you're still getting injured, there's still something that you need fixed. So
I wish that all clubs could see, like, from the outside looking in, what we as Back Onside have built with Annan as a club now, because that's what's needed. And the boys know now that, like, when I'm there, before when I started going there, if one player was speaking to me, you seen them all kind of looking as if he must be struggling.
What's going on there? Yeah.
And now it's just like they all talk amongst themselves and with me about any issues they've got going on, but they don't realise they're doing it. So it becomes like just a normal topic. Like one
Which
of them
should be.
Yeah, so one of them just now is out with an ankle injury and she's had an operation, and they talk away to him, but I can hear them saying, and how are you dealing with it mentally? Whereas before they would never have thought of that. And the manager's just he's amazing that he'll watch his players, and if he thinks there's a player that's maybe getting a bit angry in the pitch or just acting differently, he's on the phone to me saying, Libby, do you want to just check in with him? And that then gives him a bit of relief, because he knows that that's now getting dealt with, and he can concentrate on what he's supposed to be doing. Whereas just now we've got that fight where managers like, no, it's all about 3 points and I can't be dealing with somebody coming in and talking to me about the player's mental health. But if they actually listened, if we looked after their mental health, they'd be a better player on the pitch.
It could be a better improved performance.
They'll get their 3 points. That's how they'll get their 3 points.
But it's
Because
trying to get that across.
They'll get the best out of your player if they've got the right stuff.
In place, aye. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you wouldn't think about running a team without a physio or without getting all your players physically fit.
No. But even
so mentally fit, they need
even
to be
physically. Like, as soon as any of the Annan boys are injured or whatever, I work with them like straight away. Like, like on with them and with physio. Like Craig and I work really well together. Like he'll talk to me about players and that's the way it should be. It's not, so even if they've got a physical injury, the clubs need to realise that straight away, like instantly, that's affected their head.
Yeah.
Straight away. Even though they maybe don't know it yet, but it has, because the first thing they're thinking is, I'm not going to be playing for X amount, or I'm going to be sitting on the bike, and all the boys are out there training, and I've got to do. And I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
They need to listen a wee bit more, and I don't mean that in any disrespect, but
the likes of Gary coming here and speaking the way he has about the support that Back Onside gave to him, how it's helped, and obviously you're saying that you as an active current player are saying like this is there needs to be more of this.
And Jim's brilliant, like Jim brilliant.
Jim McAlery's different class, honestly.
Good.
So what a guy he is.
And he actually to hear about the likes of when you're saying like Alan Archibald at Partick was really supportive of you. Jim McAlery support, so it's good to hear that. But obviously,
see if boys, I know I'm not equipped in it, but see if boys want to come to me and say, and I'm here for them, but I've not got the right things to. But if they want to come to me and even I pass them to
signpost them on.
So boys can come to me and bother and tell me it. And I know I'm daft and I carry on in that, but I'm willing to help him do. With me just telling my book and that and passing it, that's what I need to do, and I'd be delighted to do that.
Yeah,
just to get the.
I think that's something that we need. Is more, and especially if like I can never quite understand how there is that stigma about it, and like people don't want to kind of talk about it and open up.
When I spoke to Gary, this like when we actually sat down and had a coffee, I always remember Gary, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but sat and was just like, Libby, am I the only footballer that's feeling like this? And I was just like, no, like please, like you're not. Yeah. And after telling him how the numbers that we deal with players, you could actually see the weight being lifted, and you have very openly now spoke. Like he's done a lot of talks with us and things at schools and prisons and clubs and stuff, and just seeing how that's helped you accept that it's okay to struggle.
No.
But that again, that's the good thing about opening up and sharing experiences, because a lot of people, because they don't talk about it, think, as Libby said, like think that there's not that many people like them are thinking or feeling that way, and probably especially within football, because it's not really publicised. You'll hear about everybody's injuries, like whatever's happening to them, but you don't hear about somebody that's maybe having a tough time or struggling a wee bit because it doesn't get spoken about.
And Jim actually came to me a couple of weeks ago. We were up watching Peterhead, and he came out from before the game started and up to hospitality and said, "Look, what a difference in Gary! Like, what are you? Like, what have you done to him? He's like a different person. It's kind of like getting the old Gary back.
Good,
which is good because
definitely.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's good getting old Gary back. No, it was definitely it was brilliant to hear.
It takes a bit of pressure off Jim as well, because Jim worries about Gary.
Yeah.
So and now he's like, well, I know that you've got it in hand and
looking after him, giving him support.
And you'll like Jim's the kind of manager, but like Peter Murphy, that I know I can touch base with if there is a concern for a player, and you don't get that a lot either. So
no, definitely, but that's what I'm saying. But the clubs need, not just the clubs, but even boys, and if they're ever listen to this, it's me, Gary Fraser. Ever strong, he's got my number. It's easy to get.
Yep.
And you can even talk to me about it if you don't, and I could tell you and guide you and what I've been helped on.
And pass it on. No, that's brilliant. See, just when we're on that, Gary, right? 2 questions that I want to ask you is, the first one is, what or who has been the biggest influence in your life?
My granda. My mum and my granda, but my granda's been the biggest influence in my life.
Right.
I moved in with my granda when I was, I think it was 2 maybe.
Right.
And what a life I had. Absolutely different class. Went to Tenerife 3-4 times a year with my granda. My granda was a black taxi driver. So you everybody, I loved the taxis. But I got to the age of 8. And before that, about 6. I actually remember my first football game. It was behind the prison in Bolton, and me and Libby were there last week, and I was telling her, so there's a pitch in Bolton, and the prison warden used to run it. It was a team called Ridgey Villa, and I actually remember I'm sitting tying my boots to this day, And that's when it all started, and brilliant. So it was. We went to Germany with Rangers, France with Aberdeen. He was there. Like, they all came, and the times we had were brilliant. But I lost him at 21, and it was losing a dad at 21.
Yeah.
So that was hard. Do you know what I mean? So I've had a lot to kind of deal with. But for me, for then to 21, my life is. I was lucky. I had it.
Yeah.
Because what a life I had. Honestly, I couldn't ask for a better upbringing.
Good.
It was absolutely fantastic. I had everything I wanted, everything I needed. And don't get me wrong, my mum worked 2 jobs, by the way, to get me to Murray Park, 6 nights a week. My mum, I think she had 3 jobs at one point. And I really appreciate that as well. When my gran looked after me when my mum was at work, when my granddad was at work. But no, it was absolutely different class. And that's how I was happy when I made my granddad happy when I went and played in the Premier League.
Brilliant.
So see, I used to go and watch football his life, loved football, and when I done that, it made me proud. So I'm glad I seen it. So it was brilliant.
Great. That's
Brilliant. So he was the biggest influence. Definitely, there was no question about it.
It's funny when you say that. But when I was a wee boy, I played football. My granddad used to take me to all my games and stuff like that. And just when you're saying you remember you tying your boots, the one thing that sticks in my head was I couldn't get my bag out in the car. My bag was stuck under the front seat of the car, and my grandpa was the most impatient guy in the world. Right? So when I was trying to get out, he just drove off and drove over my foot, and I nearly missed the game.
Is that what happened to your football career?
That's when it all went wrong after that. But great. And what's the best advice you've ever been given in your life?
Treat people the way you would like to be treated, and this is just normal life stuff, isn't it? In football, just be treated the way you would like to be treated, and nobody's better than you, and everybody's the same. I always look at everybody the same. I always say this: no matter who you are, what you've got, how much money you've got, or you've not got nothing, we're all the same, and everybody's got feelings. So treat people how you would like to be treated, and that's a big thing which I always do. I think it was my granddad that told me that actually. I didn't listen to him a lot right enough, but I think that's one of the things.
That was sound advice.
I think that was one of the things, but nobody's better than you, and
that's it.
Treat people the way you'd like to be treated. Yeah, that was definitely.
And I don't know if this is just a rumour, but somebody told me you're quite good at rapping. Am I right? Is that true?
He's very good at rapping.
I'm actually hopeless.
This is a word in the street. You're quite good at rapping. If you want to do a wee rap on the back side to finish up, you can.
He's very good at it.
Is that right?
Don't listen to her. She's absolute talking rubbish.
David Cox will back me up on that. This one.
No.
Get him on the phone.
I'm not doing it, but I'd just like to thank you for having me on in it, obviously.
He's getting all embarrassed now, he's all red.
No, listen, Gary. We really appreciate your time, 100%, because what you've come on and spoke about, obviously at times that couldn't have been easy for you, and you've been dead open, dead honest, and like what you said, it's good that we can do the podcast and try and get that out there, but for somebody that's still in the game, talking so much and talking so highly about Back Onside does wonders, do you know what I mean, for trying to get the word out there. So
that's right, I'm straight, you know what I mean. If I like something and it's helped me, but why hide it, do you know what I mean? Why hide it? And
I think at this point I should really say that you should be really proud of yourself. Like what the difference in you since I met you it's like night and day, and the confidence from that kind of first coffee we had to now when I sit and watch you do school talks and talking at Berlin and like to other players and stuff. That's like the game needs more of that. Life needs more of that, not just football.
Just in general.
Yeah. So
especially
be proud of yourself.
No, definitely. Definitely. No matter what age either, as Libby was saying, I'm proud of myself actually, because I was stuck in a sort of hole, and I don't know where I was and what, and Libby's got me talking to people, and even in the prisons, I enjoyed being in there, because it was like the way I was going, it was like I don't know what I wanted to do, and now maybe have a wee idea, or I would maybe like to work in there and stuff like that. So it's gave me a wee things, but
kind of opened up your eyes a wee bit to something you might be interested in
for my future and that. Good. So it's helped me big time, and even talking to schools and that, it's brilliant as well. Do you know what I mean? And the kids at that school and all, they were really young, but they were really focused, and usually obviously you get people carrying on and stuff like that, but it wasn't like that at the school.
No.
They were really, really good.
Good.
It was good, but I've just, as I say, I just kind of thank you for having us on.
Brilliant. Well, listen, onwards and upwards, Gary.
No
Thanks
problem.
very much for
Cheers.
being here. All right.
Cheers.